Hi, hello, kia ora, I'm Renee. I like to read books and then talk about them on the internet. Hello, Happy New Year, Happy 2025. I love the sound of that year. 2025 has a good ring to it. Fingers crossed, good things. It's that time of year where I sit down with my silly little notebook and write down pointless, arbitrary reading goals that I have for the year. It's all for a little bit of fun. Can't help myself when it comes to these types of reading goals, lists. I'm a list person. Probably more of a short-term list person than a long-term one. So yes, in this video I'm going to have a little reflection time, look back at last year's reading goals, how did I do, and then set some new ones for the new year. Just a little reminder about the goals that I set for myself for 2024. My overall reading challenge number of books that I wanted to read in 2024 was 88 books, because I wanted to read one more than the year before, which I read 87. Did not achieve, only read 58 books this year. Yeah, reading took a real dive in the second half of this year. I don't know particularly why, it just did. It was like a massive 6-long month reading slump in a way. So reading slowed right down, and there was no way that that goal of 88 books was ever going to be achieved. So here we are. Another reading goal that I had was to read my complete list of 20 books for 2024. If you don't know what that is just a list of books that I wanted to read in 2024. 20 books to be exact, and I read 12, which I feel like is better than the previous year. I can't remember exactly. I know that I gave myself quite a few big books for that list, so I'm taking that on board this year, and I'm reevaluating how I kind of pick and choose. That video will be coming soon, so you will be able to see the 20 books that I plan on reading in 2025. Fun. Number 3 reading goal was to complete the back catalogue of Toni Morrison's work that I hadn't already read. I can't remember exactly how many books I had. I think maybe 10, like not that many. I read 2 Toni Morrison novels this year, which is not great, but upon reflection, probably not the best author to try to cram into one year. You definitely need time and space with Morrison's novels, and trying to read them all in 1 year was probably not smart on my part. So I can see why that number's so low. I mean, they were great, but yeah. It's like trying to run a marathon when you've never run a marathon before. Almost. 4th reading goal was to read 1 prize listed book a month, and I read 8. This goal was really hard to track because I wasn't always checking to see if a book was like on a list, and so I was really just going off of the ones that had like the obvious blurb on the front. And I know that some books that I read became listed after I read them. Yeah, I wasn't very good at checking the accuracy of these prize-nominated listed books. So potentially I could have read 12, I don't know exactly. I'm too lazy to go back and check, but that was a silly goal. Silly goal. Last reading goal that I made, which was the silliest of them all, was to read more for fun. Which I actually feel like I achieved this year, so tick for that one, at least. I've got to have a win somewhere. But yes, that was a silly goal. I don't know that I'll be setting any silly goals like that again this year, but I'm glad to say that I at least had fun with my reading. Okay, some arbitrary numbers just for the hell of it for 2024. I read 17,533 pages. I had 1 reread, 3 DNFs, 3 buddy reads. I read 5 books on audio, or listened to 5 books on audio. I read 7 of the books that I read this year were checked out from my local library. My top reading month was June, where I read 9 books. My average star rating for the year was 3.47 stars. I read mostly physical books this year as opposed to digital and audio. At 86.2% of my reading was made up of physical books. I read mostly fiction, no surprises there. 87.5% of my books are fiction. And my biggest mood of reading was reflective. There we have it. It's 2024, done and dusted. Plans, reading goals for 2025. I would like to read 52 books. I've gone lower with the book count this year because I can't have 3 years in a row of not at least getting a win with that, okay? I didn't reach 100 the year before. I'm going even lower again this year. We're going 52. A book a week, it feels achievable, although that's, you know, to be continued on that one. But I feel like I'm setting myself up for success with a 52 book count. The second reading goal is I want to read 1 Anita Brookner novel each month. I have so many of her novels. I have 12 to be exact, and I've never read her, and I need to give myself a kick up the bum and just do it. So yeah, I've got a couple here that I'll quickly show you. The debut is one that I'm actually quite excited about. It's about a woman who in her childhood escaped from life into books and is now in her 40s and is a scholar and a doctor, and she devoted her study to Balzac and is now convinced that her life is being ruined by literature. That sounds like a romp of a story, but what I really love about this book is that the blurb on the back says an almost flawless novel. That is such a read. Like, why would you even print that on the back of a book? So bizarre and weird. Anyway, I am looking forward to reading some Anita Brookner. Another one that I have not read and will be attempting to at some point is Hotel de Lac, probably her most popular book. I think it won, the winner of the Booker Prize, so there we go. A lot of her novels seem to center around kind of similar women. I don't know whether that's going to get exhausting. This woman's a romance novelist and a holder of modest dreams. So yes, I think it's potentially achievable because a lot of her books are like not very long. They're kind of under or around the 200 page mark, and they feel like stories that I want to read anyway. So, you know, trying to set myself up again, like I said, for success with this one. Reading goal number 3 is to read 1 gifted book a month. So I am really bad at reading the books that people gift me. Not because they're not books that I want to read, just because I have so many books and I'm spoiled for choice. But it is getting quite embarrassing, especially with my friends who are readers who give me books. It's getting kind of embarrassing at how long I have had these books on my shelf and have not read them yet. So I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna read 1 a month, and I'm gonna be able to no longer be embarrassed by not reading these books. I've got 3 examples here of books that were gifted to me over the years. This one was gifted to me by Rupert. Harrow by Doyle Williams. I've never read any Joy Williams. I've heard mixed things about this book, but I've heard overall Joy Williams is great. So we're going to go into it. This was also recommended to Rupert for me by the booksellers at the shop. He does a really good job of taking lots of photos of my bookshelves and zooming in at the bookshop on them to see if I have the books that they recommend, which is, I would say, a hard feat when I have the library that I have. So he does quite well to buy books that I don't already own. The Shards by Bret Easton Ellis. My brother-in-law bought this for me for Christmas last year, and I haven't read it yet, so I need to. I think he might have read it and enjoyed it. A book that I feel doubly bad about the fact that I still haven't read this, not only because it's one of my friend's favourite books, but also because it's her personal copy that she gave me and I need to read it, is A Tree Grows in Brooklyn by Betty Smith. Yeah, I don't really think I need to talk much about this book. It's a classic. Oh, it's even got her stamp in it. That's how much like this book belongs to her. But yeah, I need to read this. She gifted it to me a long time ago and I haven't read it yet, and it's very bad. So I'm going to get to it. I promise, Sophie, I promise I will be reading it. Okay, reading goal number 4 is to reread 3 books this year. I think even more specific than that, I want to reread 3 favourite books this year, because I just feel like there's some separation between some of these books, and now I'm like really excited to revisit them, probably get a new lens, new light on them, hopefully fall deeper in love with them. I've got 3 here for examples, but it's not these 3 specifically, it could be others. These are the ones I'm kind of tossing up at this stage. First one, White Teeth by Zadie Smith. Probably one of my favourite novels of all time. Yeah, I think I need to reread this. I think it's time. I think I need to go back and just bathe in the glory that is Zadie Smith. Ties by Domenico Starnone is another novel that I love and think about all the time, and I know that if I reread it, I'm going to pick up on so many little bits. I mean, the beauty of this book is reading it for the first time and it unfolding the way that it does, but I think reading it the second time, there's going to be some good nuggets along the way, you know? So yeah, I'm thinking that one. It's nice and small too. And then the last one is Too Much and Not the Mood by Dugatube Bose. This is probably like, if I was to describe myself in a book, this would be me. Not only for its feature of the colour purple, but a lot of the stories, personal essays in this book felt very familiar to me. I feel connected to Durga in a way because of her writing. And I would like to revisit that because it feels like, I don't know, it just feels like it's time. So I'm thinking this one's definitely going to be on the list. Hey, I might end up reading more than 3, rereading more than 3 books this year, and that's fine. But these are the top contenders so far. I could be persuaded for others, just saying. Okay, my final and 5th reading goal for the year is to read 3 classics. I went with 3 because I feel like it's a nice number. It's not too much pressure like 5, but it is not too small like 1 or 2. So 3 feels like a good number in a calendar year. I'm going to leave the term classics pretty open. I don't want to specify it too much. It could be a modern classic, it could be a classic. I have some examples here that I prepared earlier. The White Album by Joan Didion. This just feels like a classic book to me that I have not read. essentially I want to be able to say I've read the classic novels, the classic stories, and this definitely feels like a classic that needs to be read. Another one that I picked up was The Virgin Suicides, probably more of a contemporary classic than anything else, but one that I'm desperate to get to. One of the only books that I have that is a movie tie-in that I am in love with. Yeah, another example. And then an example of like an actual classic would be Middlemarch by George Eliot. You know, there's lots of range in there. I feel like I'm not pigeonholing myself to like 3 actual classics with this one. So, yeah. I am feeling optimistic. I'm feeling like I'm ready to win at this, because that's essentially what this is, a little game that I've set up for myself where nobody actually cares if I do it or not, but I'll feel really good about myself if I do. Here's looking at 2025. I'm ready to start a new year, a fresh new year, and I'm really looking forward to reading more books, more good books. I really don't know what is coming out in the new year, so let me know if there's anything that you think I should have on my radar. All recommendations appreciated and welcome. Thank you so much. I will see you in the next one. Ka kite.